We've got a good one on Monday Night Football tonight. Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos travel across the country to play the Atlanta Falcons. BETDAQ currently has the Falcons installed as a 3-point favorite in this game, 51 the total. Both these teams looked very good in Week 1. Denver taking care of business at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers, a win that looks even better now after the Steelers easily beat the New York Jets 27-10 yesterday. Atlanta, meanwhile, went on the road, hung 40 points on division rival Kansas City, so I do expect a very competitive game tonight, an exciting, high-scoring game. I think these offenses are going to move up and down the field a little bit. Denver's offense looked last week like Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning. It looked like his same old self. Might not have quite the zip on the ball he used to. Did look like Ben Roethlisberger. The ball was coming out of Ben Roethlisberger's hands with a bit more on it than Manning, but what does that matter? Manning was as accurate as ever. Still calling plays at the line of scrimmage, getting his team into the right play. I said last week in the evaluation after that Denver-Pittsburgh game, I don't exactly know what offensive coordinator Mike McCoy is doing over there. I mean, they show him, at his headset, kind of talking away like he's calling plays. If he is calling plays, it's no more than a suggestion and a concept, because Manning looks like he called literally every play at the line of scrimmage. So it has to be a little bit emasculating, I would think, for Mike McCoy. He's been there running that offense for a couple of years, not just last year when Tim Tebow was the story taking over that offense, but the year before when they had some success throwing the ball down the field. Mike McCoy was calling the plays then too, and he is still the figurehead as the offensive coordinator, but the actual person running this offense is Peyton Manning, and if you had any doubts about that, those doubts were erased in Week 1. That looked nothing like the Denver offense we've seen not only last year but the year before. That looked exactly like the Indianapolis Colts offense that we've seen for so many years. Falcons do have an average defense. They're just average on defense, and they did lose their best cornerback, Brent Grimes, for the season in Week 1 against Kansas City. Also, the best linebacker, Sean Weatherspoon, questionable in this game. So I do expect Denver to have success on offense. Now, Denver is going to have trouble holding down that Atlanta Falcons offense. We mentioned the Falcons scored 40 last week against Kansas City. Now that Julio Jones really emerged, Jones in his second year now at Alabama, he's really emerged opposite Roddy White as maybe an equal to Roddy White. And so the Atlanta Falcons' downfield passing game is now absolutely lethal. They throw the ball downfield as well as any team in the league. And the matchup I'm most looking forward to watching tonight is that Atlanta passing game against that Denver secondary. That Denver secondary is questionable. They were worse than that last year. They were bad last year, especially at the safety position after Brian Dawkins went down with injury. They tried to address that, bringing in Mike Adams in free agency, the safety, and he's one of their starters, gets a lot of playing time. But last week against Pittsburgh still looked like they had holes in that secondary. Age is getting them at cornerback. Tracy Porter certainly played well last week at one corner. Champ Bailey, the other corner, has been one of the best in the league for a long time, but over the last couple of years, if you watch him, Bailey's been mostly living off reputation, no longer the player he once was, which you'd expect with age creeping up on him. I mean, let's face it, Bailey getting up there probably only has a couple of more years left in his illustrious career. So anxious to see if that Denver defense, that Denver secondary, is going to be able to prevent Matt Ryan and those wide receivers, those great wide receivers, Julio Jones, Roddy White, Tony Gonzalez, the tight end. Are they going to be able to prevent that group from making plays downfield? Because I do think Denver is going to have success on offense, but they're going to just be chipping away. It's going to be similar to last week. I think it's going to be a bunch of sort of short to intermediate passes. I believe they'll methodically move the ball down the field against Atlanta. So for Atlanta to win this game, and again, they are 3-point favorites, they will have to outscore Denver. But again, I guess for any team to win any game, they have to outscore the other team. You understand what I mean, though. Denver's going to put up some points here. This is not going to be a defensive struggle. The Falcons' offense is going to have to be the unit that does the job if they're going to win the game here tonight. But as I said, with that dynamic passing game, they may do the job. They just may. I do lean towards Atlanta in this game, -3. I am not going to back them, not going to bet on the Falcons. I bet against Denver last week against Pittsburgh. Peyton Manning has burned me too many times. He is not a fun person to bet against and root against. That guy is just too good, and he will rip your heart out if you bet against him too often. So staying away from the game tonight. Trends in this game slightly favor Denver. Atlanta coming off that big win last week. The Falcons are only 0-5 against the number their last 5 games following a win of 14 points or more. So they haven't done well in recently in the last couple of years responding from big victories. Denver, meanwhile, 5-2 against the number of their last 7 road games. But the trends really point in the direction of the over here. I mean, Denver, when you look at them all, I guess they point slightly in the direction of Denver. If you read a lot into these things, trends, a lot of times these are meaningful when you've got a team with a lot of continuity in the coaching staff and personnel, like the Atlanta Falcons. But when you have a team like Denver, how much does Denver's 5-2 road record against the spread in the last 7 games mean? Very little, because this is a completely different Denver team now that Peyton Manning is in there. But the Falcons, it's the same group now for a long time. Coaching staff, core personnel, and they've been great at home under head coach Mike Smith. Falcons 26-6 overall at home under Mike Smith, so very tough to go into Atlanta and get a win off these Falcons. But as I said, there are clear trends pointing towards the over in this game. The over is 4-1 in the last 5 meetings between these two teams. The over is 5-1 in Atlanta's last 6 games overall, and 4-0 in Denver's last 4 games as an underdog. Now the total is 51 tonight, which is a pretty big total, but I do expect to see some scoring tonight, so I do lean towards the over. Again, decided not to have a play on this game. I'm going to lay off after a 2-2 day yesterday, a little unsatisfying. What do they say, like kissing your sister? My second straight 2-2 day in the NFL, so we'll try to get to some winning ways. I will mention we were 2-0 the first week in college football, so we're still slightly ahead on the year. I'm not going broke just yet, but going to just sit back and observe this one. Hope you get in on this action, though. Plenty of bets to be had on BETDAQ. A full array of player bets, prop bets. A lot of interesting things that can be done on this game. Again, the line is Atlanta -3. Hey, this should be an excellent game. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are too.